Welcome to the Fail Forward podcast. The purpose of this podcast is change the negative stigma around failure into a positive. Failure is only a negative if we do not learn from it and we give up. Welcome back to the Fail Forward podcast. Now, today I'm going to be talking about something that's very close to my heart, and that is drug addiction, or not even just drug addiction, but addiction to anything, because addiction can grab people in so many different ways, whether it's gambling, sex, drugs, alcohol, whatever. There's so many different food. There's so many ways to be addicted to something, and they're not all physical. A lot of the addictions that we have are mental addictions, and I feel for anybody who has experienced it themselves, any family members who have experienced it, friends. It's a tough place to be, because as an addict to something, it's a very lonely and selfish addiction. Is selfish. It's not intentionally selfish, and people don't just become addicted and do it on purpose. Generally, there is a reason, something underlying that's happened in their lives, or a series of events that have got them to that place. And it is tragically difficult for anyone involved, for the person who's got the addiction or anybody around that person, because it's so difficult for us to understand. And even one of the previous episodes, I'm talking about empathy. It's even very difficult to empathize with someone with an addiction, because it outrightly just seems at the time that they don't care about anything else but themselves. But realistically, they do, and it's eating them away. You get in a rhetorical circle of abuse, of abusing whatever you're addicted to, and then feeling completely guilty and horrible. And then what then happens is you get so low that then the high is to get whatever it is you're addicted to again. And it's this horrible rhetorical circle, which is unintentional to hurt people around you, but you end up hurting a lot of people around you as well. So firstly, I feel for anybody who has suffered on both sides of it. And if you are having either side of it, then please find people to talk to. One of the greatest things about this country is that we actually get drug counselling and addiction counselling for free. I've paid for it and had it for free, and they're both as good as each other. I think half of it is just firstly admitting that you've got a problem. My wife, who I've talked about before, she is an absolute angel sent down to me, because she is one of the best human beings I've ever met. She stuck by me through thick and thin through my addiction. And she told my parents, which I didn't like about at first, and we fell out badly about it. But my parents, being old school, but they still helped, and all my family, my sister, and everyone around me definitely helped. But you, as an addict, you have this constant worrying, and it never lets go. You're constantly thinking about whatever it is you're addicted to. It keeps haunting you. You dream about it. The amount of times I've dreamt about being out with friends at a rave, partying, taking drugs, and you wake up in the morning and you feel like you've been there, and instantly you feel like you need it because you've experienced it, and you've got this weird dream going on, and it really does haunt you in so many ways. But coming out of the other side of it, and now I've been clean for 4 years. But previous to that, I relapsed when the business went under, and previous to that, I was clean for what was Esme? She was 5, so I was clean for 5 years. So ultimately, I've been clean for quite a while now. I've had one relapse in the last 9 years. But what's got me thinking is that I'm still the same person, and I still have the same worrying. But what I've done now is I've channeled my addictive personality, because Sarah used to call me Henry Ninevice, because I used to be addicted to anything, or there'd be a new thing like ice baths. She showed me talking about ice baths. I got addicted to those, and fitness and everything like that. And I actually believe it or not, however tragically bad an addictive personality or an addiction is, it can be a massive superpower as well. Because you've got this constant worrying, you can't stop, you can't sit still. Like in the evenings, if the TV's on, I'm not interested in it, but I can't sit still. So you have this like underlying energy that keeps on whirring and ticking away. And I believe that every person has that has an addictive personality. When you start to channel that into a positive way, once you get over the addiction you've got and learn that worrying is never going to go away, it's never going to stop the constant need to do something. But if you can channel that into something positive, and it's not easy. If you can channel that, getting addicted to running, for example, which I am at the moment. I'm not addicted to the actual running bit. I'm addicted to the feeling afterwards. Ice baths, I'm addicted to that. The feeling afterwards. Being in it isn't that great. It's freezing cold, but afterwards it releases endorphins for 3 hours. I'm addicted to running my businesses. I'm addicted to my children. And as soon as you can start transferring the energy into a positive place, then you can start seeing the addictive personality is something quite powerful. And I believe probably some of the most successful people in the world have got an addictive personality. They've just done really well at channeling it into their business, channeling it into creating value for the world, so they become multi-millionaires. And that's where I think you can really use an addiction to your benefit if you can get over the hump. And lots of people don't get over that. I hear of stories all the time of people relapsing, and my heart goes out to anybody who's going through that. But what I want to say is there's light at the end of the tunnel. There's light for if you're a family friend or if you're an addict. If you can try and get help, the best bit of advice I can give is go and talk to people. But it might not necessarily be your friends and family. You might need to go and talk to a counsellor, and that's going to be hard because you're going to unearth things. You're going to have difficult conversations. But the best thing about a counsellor is they're neutral. They're not there to judge you. They're not even there to fix you. Quite often they're just there to listen, and that's one of the most important things. Admitting that you've got a problem to start off with, and then being able to go and talk about it. But really, the point of this episode, because I've talked about my addiction before, and please go back and listen to that one if you want to hear more about that, is that something that a lot of society see as a negative, like when you see someone on the street who's had some unfortunate turns and they call them a crackhead, that person could actually turn it around and be a real positive influence in someone else's life if they can try and channel that negative energy into something positive. So have a think about that. Have a bit of empathy for people that have addictions, and I'm sure that through some support, love, care, and attention, that a lot of people could turn it around. One of my dreams and part of my goals is to create halfway houses in the UK to be able to help and support people to get off the streets, to be able to get over addictions, and then be able to help them channel their energy into a positive business, job, or something that just generally helps people and brings value to society, because I believe that everybody has a purpose on this planet and we're all equal at the end of the day. We've just had different lives, different influences, and different decisions made in our lives by ourselves and other people. So have some empathy for people with addiction. And if you're going through it, or you know anyone that it is, try and get them to talk. It's one of the biggest things that you can do. But remember, there is a superpower within everyone. Bit of a different episode today, and I appreciate it might have hit a nerve of a few people. So my hand goes out to anybody who wants to support. If anybody needs support through addiction, or necessarily be pointed in the right direction, then please drop me a message and I will sure to be back in contact. Thanks all for listening. Take care.